Now, since I've had my heat pump fitted, everyone has been telling me it's going to get stolen or kids are going to put stones down it. And Eufy contacted me earlier this month because they're concerned about my security system and they said maybe it needs beefing up. And at least I then can light up the driveway so the thieves can see what they're doing and capture some footage for you to all take the mickey out of me when it goes away. So they've sent me some really high quality security systems, a pan tilt zoom camera with a telescopic lens and a zoom lens, and something that finally is going to solve a big problem I've always had with Ring doorbells, which is the subscription service costs an absolute fortune and you have no choice to get away from it. But Eufy have sent me something that gets around this, and it's probably my favourite smart home device I've ever received for a while. So here we have the Eufy E340. Now there's a link down below to Amazon if you're wanting to buy exactly the same camera, but it is going to solve a couple of issues for me. So I thought I'd need two cameras, one to cover my back door, because real concern is burglars breaking in through the back door. And the other concern I had was my car being stolen rather than my Cosy 6 heat pump. I'm more worried about the car being nicked because it's worth more than the Cosy 6 heat pump. So those are my two large security risks. Now this solves that by putting it on the top of my garage. Its pan tilt zoom system and its telephoto lens should mean that I'm covering not only my back door, but also covering the risk of my car being nicked, and it does cover where the Cosy 6 is. It's also another concern we've had is that our drive isn't well lit, so at night, parking in the winter, we can't really see by vision where we're going because the driveway's so well lit, the back camera's always dirty, so we wanted to get a floodlight put there and a security camera. This is both. It's a security camera and a floodlight. And there's stickers all over the floodlights on this and the app warning me how bright they are. So I'm really excited to see how bright they are. And I'm also hoping that there's an adjustable brightness setting so I can turn them down if they are too bright. Now I'm going to go and get this fitted on my garage. We'll see in a minute. So like I said, at the moment I have a Ring door camera, and Ring keep putting up the subscription cost every single year. And I'm stuck, I'm trapped with Ring. You can't do anything else apart from pay for the subscription if you want to view your old recordings. They'll let you see the doorbell ring and answer it for free, but if you want to store anything in the risk of being robbed, you can't. There's no option with Ring, which is a real downside because you're stuck into a subscription model. Now, Eufy do have their own cloud service, but it's optional. They have an SD card that you can put directly in the camera, but I don't like this idea because if someone steals your Ring door camera or steals your camera on your wall, they have the footage that you need to prove who they are. So Eufy have a little idea, and that's local storage. Like a proper CCTV system, you can store all your CCTV footage on this. Now this has got some internal memory, but it's not enough to get real storage. So what it's got in here, we open this lid up, you can open this up and you can put one of these, which is an SSD hard drive. There's links to these if you're wondering and you're a bit unsure about tech and which one to get, but this hard drive here, you can get up to 16 terabytes, which is a huge amount. You don't need that much, but 16 terabytes for one camera is like 2 years of footage. But if you're going to have multiple cameras, you know, it's going to use more and more. But most people won't need a very large hard drive because you don't really want to store more than a week's worth of footage, because once you've been burgled or anything's happened, you'll know immediately within 2 days. So unless you're on holiday for a week or two, then you don't really need a lot of data storage. But it stores it all locally. And at the back, you've got two USBs. So if you need the footage off for the police, you put a USB stick in, put it to the USB stick, or share it, through the internet. So you've got a couple of options of doing that. Now, one thing I do like about it is the one risk with cloud storage, whichever company it is you're sharing it on the internet. And they can encrypt it and they can do whatever they want with it, but your footage is being streamed constantly to the internet. And that risk of having your kids playing in the garden and some weirdo looking at it just freaks me out. So local storage is a real big plus for me. The other thing it does, which I think is amazing, is a lot of these companies have AI security solutions. So they track cars, cameras, people, and that's always done in the cloud, which means your data is being shared to the cloud. Some footage will go to the cloud for them to look at, to analyze with the AI. The AI is built locally on this. Now to set it up, This is one of the easiest things. You plug the Ethernet in, power it up, scan the barcode, done. That's pretty much the easiest thing I've ever set up. The camera, it has to be first powered on inside. So you plug a USB at the bottom of it and turn it on, scan the barcode and follow the steps on the app. Now, unlike cheap cameras that I've had in the past or seen in the past that only have 1-2 gigahertz chip in it, which means that you have to play around with networks and understand things, and they're a bit complicated. This, anyone can set up. Anyone can set up. You scan the barcode, put your network password in, and it connects. That's pretty much it. It's about as easy as you can possibly get. The next part, you've then got to wire it on to the place it's going. Now, because it's hardwired, you'll need to hardwire it into your electric. So either replace an existing floodlight that's already there and switch them over by connecting the wires over, or get an electrician to wire it up if you're not competent to do it yourself. But once that's all set up, the first time inside, as soon as you put it outside, it will connect and configure itself pretty much all automatically. It's probably one of the easiest things I've installed for quite some time. And remember, I've installed some really complex stuff and some easy stuff, and this actually is one of the easiest setups I've ever done. Now, my main concern was at night to have it illuminate my drive so we could reverse down the drive, and my wife's concern was it would be too bright, that it would blind her camera or blind her vision when she was reversing. Luckily, you can adjust the brightness within the app on how bright it is. Now, I was having a problem with it triggering perfectly for my vehicle for the time I was going to start reversing in my drive. It would eventually pick my car up and then tune up the brightness, but by then I was already starting to reverse on the drive, and I wanted to see the lamppost and the Cosy 6 at the end of my drive to kind of help me reverse. So I've actually set it to be on as a permanent ambient light. So it's on 24/7 but on an 8% brightness. Now it only turns on when it goes to dusk, so basically when the sun sets, and it only turns off when the sun rises. But it's a nice 8% ambient light, but when it detects the car, it then shoots up to 50% brightness. Or when it detects a person, it will shoot up to 50% brightness. Now in my circumstances, 50% brightness is plenty bright, but you might have a larger area to cover than mine, or an extremely dark area, because mine's not, it's poorly lit, but it's not terribly lit. There is street lights nearby. 100% brightness is extremely bright. It's really, really powerful brightness on this. And actually, if you've got a very large area to cover, like a large car park, these two lights on 100% brightness will easily turn that into daylight. Now, the one question you're going to have, which is the same question I had, is why 2 lenses? Is it just a gimmick? Is it completely pointless? And until you really understand how cameras work, you might also think that having maybe a digital zoom might be a better idea than having 2 cameras. Well, there's a reason for 2 cameras. One, the ultra wide lens covers a really large surface area, and rather than zooming in that ultra wide lens, you've got a perfectly zoomed in camera already. Now, when you zoom in digitally in an image, you lose resolution because you're zooming in an already you're zooming in a picture that's already captured, and you're taking away resolution, you're taking away pixels as you zoom in. So you can have a really high resolution camera, but as soon as you start zooming in, you lose that resolution, which means that faces can look pixelated or registrations can look pixelated, and you lose that detail. Now, the other way zoom's traditionally done is with an optical zoom, which means that there's one fixed camera, and that camera has an optical zoom that zooms in to footage. Now, there is security cameras with optical zooms, and there's a person that I watch on YouTube who's done a camera with one of the most powerful optical zooms I've ever seen. But the problem with an optical zoom is, as it zooms in, you lose focus for a couple of seconds and the camera has to refocus. Now, in security, that's not ideal, because that couple of seconds of refocusing the camera back in could be the few seconds that that burglar looked up at the camera, and you could have captured their face absolutely perfectly. So having 2 zoom lenses, one perfectly zoomed in and one wide lens, means you can capture both footages at the same time without losing any integrity of the photo or zoom quality, and have the wide detail at the same time as having that zoomed in detail. Because what you might also find is, while you're zoomed in, there could be 2 or 3 assailants, 2 or 3 burglars, and that means that The zoomed lens capturing one of them, and the wide lens might be capturing the rest of the scene of what they're doing to your house or what they're planning on doing, and that might also capture their faces. Now in whole, the cameras have been great. I no longer need to fit a security light. This has an amazing light. I don't know how many times I have to tell you how bright this light is. It is amazing. The security camera has taken away the ability for me to having to fit several cameras to cover several parts of my house. I don't have to have one for my back garden and my drive and my Cosy 6. This covers the whole area. It's absolutely phenomenal how clever it tracks. Now, there is occasional times the tracking has been a little bit jerky, but on the whole of it, it's been very, very steady. It's just on far objects, occasionally there's a bit of a jerk with the camera as it's trying to follow that object. But on the whole, it's been mainly very, very, very steady at tracking. Now it has got two-way audio, so you can talk back to someone on the other side, like you would on a doorbell. You can also set off burglar siren alarms to sort of warn that you shouldn't be there. Go away, stay away from my house. There is other features in it in the AI tools which is very clever, like face tracking, so it can detect who you are, who your wife is, whether the postman's coming round and whether the milkman's coming to visit your wife at the weekend. It can really pick up those faces so you can recognise them and store them in that photo bank so you know who they are and you don't get too many false alerts. Regarding false alerts, it is really good at detecting everything it sees. So I really recommend that you set the detection area to the area you just want, because it is ultra sensitive. It will pick up everything. Like I said, the speed it picks me up coming out my back door and the distance it pulls that from is amazing. So you really do need to set down the parameters if you don't want too many false alerts, because it will really pick up everything. It is absolutely amazing at picking it up. Now the AI tools, as well as picking up people you know, it can also pick up other things. Now, they are currently asking for people to submit AI training data to them. So that wouldn't be stored locally, you'd be sending it to their servers and they reward you with some point scheme. But one thing they're asking for is when a crime's committed, so whether you've been broken into, your car's been damaged, stuff like that, and they're going to train their AI tool to try and detect that. Now that would be cool. Imagine it detected your camera, actually detected, rather than a false alert, that someone was breaking into your house, and it automatically set the sirens off, automatically alerted you to someone breaking in. That's one thing that I'm quite excited to what this will get eventually. I mean, the whole point about anyone buying any technology now is, will it improve as you own it? And Eufy look like they want to improve this system for current owners as well as new owners. Now price. This thing here, the camera, is always up and down. It's Amazon. So there's a link down below if you want it, but it's about £200 is the happy medium price. Sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less, but expect to pay £200. £200 is a fair price to pay for this. Is it worth £200? Yes, it's well worth £200. For me, where I've put it, absolutely perfect. I wanted a floodlight, that would have cost me maybe 50-60 quid, and I wanted some security cameras. Now ideally I probably needed 2 or 3 security cameras to cover the area where it is, and each security camera would have cost me maybe at least 50-60 quid. So that's well and truly paid for itself in just one camera. It's also way better quality than some of the cameras I've got elsewhere at work and stuff like that. The camera quality is superb on it. It really did impress me. But the feature on it that impressed me the most was the fact that it can be looking straight ahead, and I can come out of my rear door in my garden and it picks me up. It knows I'm there. It's got some setting in it where you can detect things that aren't in view and pan and tilt to them, and it will immediately see me coming out the back door even though it's not looking at me, and swing the camera to check I'm there, and then track and follow me wherever I go. That is just, I don't know how Eufy do it. Eufy, if you could tell me how you do it, I'm just intrigued from a technical perspective how you pick me up from that far away, because it's not even near the camera. It's not even like it's a PIR sensor. It's just so fast and quick. That is one of the best features of this camera, is the fact that it can cover multiple angles, pick things up, follow them, and that unnerving effect if you're a burglar or a threat to the house and the camera is following where you're going, it feels like someone's in a control room watching you. It's just very unnerving if you're a burglar, and I think that's one of the better features of it. The one thing I'd comment about it is that the floodlight camera, I'd like to be able to it detects my wife's car reg and turn the floodlight on only for her car when she comes. It does seem a little bit oversensitive on the camera. I've tried adjusting it, adjusting the floodlight a little bit, but yeah, I can't find a happy medium. Now you can just have an ambient light and have it on all the time. I get that, but yeah, I mean, overall, very impressed with this. I am, seriously. This, however, am I impressed with this? Well, I worked out that the cost of this is what I paid for Ring over 3 years, and after 3 years, I still have to pay for Ring. This is paid for itself after 3 years compared to what I pay for Ring subscription cloud service. So will I replace my Ring doorbell with a Eufy door camera to cut out away Ring subscription? More than possible. It's possibly a subject for another video, but I definitely get one of these from Eufy if you were getting a camera, and I definitely, if you were wanting a camera that can cover multiple angles and has a floodlight, this is a really powerful floodlight. It has got such a beam on it, and you can adjust which way the camera's pointing, as well as adjusting the floodlight's angle. Now, as I mentioned before, I got this from Eufy to basically protect the Cosy 6. Now, there's links down below if you want to buy either of these two products from Amazon, but if you're wondering why I'm not worried about the Cosy 6 being stolen, see this video here.